Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all ready to talk about some freaky Targaryen sex, because we are talking episode 3 of the House of the Dragon. Episode 4 of the House of the Dragon, King of the Narrow Sea. It's going to be a lot of fun. This was a juicy as hell episode in more than one way, and I can't wait to talk about it. Don't forget, everybody in the chat, if you guys would like to support what we do here on Monday mornings, give us a super chat throughout the conversation. We are going to save them, star them, and we are going to wait until the end of the stream, and we will give you 100% of our attention. So support us, drop us a dime, and we'll get to your comments at the end and have a lot of fun talking about it. So without further ado, my panel of nerds has returned. House of the Dragons panel. Charles is back. Welcome, sir.
How goes it, guys?
I hope you had a great vacation.
I did.
Good, very good. Also here, Barbarian Space Viking himself, MattVader. What's up, dude?
I'm rocking it today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling some t-shirts today. That's what I'm doing. So,
and the red.
Yeah,
witch,
man.
Jude.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. I'll save my witty clips for later.
Okay.
So,
all right.
He's always stepping on my intro.
I know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I do that a lot, don't I?
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
That's why I have to get in there quick. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. What's up? And Matthew Caters, producer of the show, the man who made that amazing intro. Welcome, sir.
Good to be here. Can't wait to talk about the best fantasy show on TV right now, which isn't saying a whole lot. At the same time, yeah, it's just good to talk Game of Thrones occasionally.
The bar is low for sure.
Yeah, the bar is very low.
I've been hearing so many horrendous things about the Rings of Power, and I haven't even watched it. I'm like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't think you'll miss much. I don't cover it on Saturday with you guys.
They have the world's best ditch in the world.
Yeah,
it is incredible.
And they have Jim, the tree.
Jim the tree.
Jeff, you can't even get your own name straight.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah,
he literally is the butcher of things that he names. It's really funny.
I have bad memory. That's just it.
The thing is that here's the thing: if you're going to have a dwarf princess, there needs to be a beard. That immediately is going to turn people on you. It's just like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I remember just. I was watching I've seen some other commentaries about it, and it's just like, I've seen some other commentaries about it, and it's just, I think the last time I saw such an uproar and backlash before something got released was probably Captain Marvel. Maybe I'm missing another one. But it's just like,
wrong show, guys.
If they are going to have a
sorry, I know. Hey, but it's not spoilers.
If they're gonna have a dwarf princess that doesn't have a beard, they at least better have an evil dwarf uncle that gets her horned up. Okay, so
this show has it.
That's the segue we needed.
That's the segue we needed.
Perfect.
Well done, Matt V.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're talking House of the Dragon. I really did enjoy this episode. I want to tell a really quick story. So my wife, you guys know, is very Hallmark. She likes, the easygoing, good moral story. But she watches Outlander, and Outlander's pretty horny sometimes. Mm-hmm. And she was not able to watch the original Game of Thrones show. It was too gory. There was too much just obtuse, nudity and stuff like that.
Sex position. Yeah.
So yeah, lots of weird sex. But I've actually been able to watch the show with her, and that adds such an amazing element to me to be able to share the show with her, because it's it's like the same level of Outlander, where it's like it gets grimy and dirty and horny, but it focuses more on the story, so it's a lot of fun.
If you stayed after and watched the after show, you learned that it's okay because this was directed by a lady.
It was directed by a lady.
She wanted to make sure and get that that special lady perspective when getting everybody all horned up.
Remove the male gaze.
So, yeah. I appreciated it. I'm down.
Which one of the comments my wife and I made to each other last night was like, I watched the original with Emilia Clarke, and they put Emilia Clarke through the ringer in that show. Like, she was naked as much as she possibly could be.
Just for the first.
I think she had to kind of put her foot down.
She did. She had to put her foot down.
Yeah.
And I think Jason Momoa actually went to bat for her and was like, she doesn't need to do this, and I support her.
So I can appreciate that this show, with this particular episode, because it has so much sex in it, that they went through the effort of making sure that the actress was, appropriately done in the camera, and like things are mostly covered, but it's not like horrendously like, oh, that's so boring.
Can I just say in the behind the scenes of this episode, when they're interviewing Millie Alcock, who plays Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra.
You got it right.
Close enough, babe.
Her interviews are hilarious because she doesn't give a fuck. She's just like yeah, there are all these people naked and wreathing around. And
she's like, today was orgy day. It was orgy day on set, so that was cool.
You know the thing I like. The thing without before you go into it, Alex. I like that they have this gamut of sex throughout the show. It wasn't just like, okay, here's one scene. It's like they showed the different things, like the orgy sex, fun consensual sex, the dutiful sex. So
it's a full spectrum.
The pleasure houses were a big thing in the books. It's part of the world.
Yeah.
When Alicent was having sex, I just kept thinking to myself, like, act like you're into it. Do your arm circles.
Make a face. Make a face.
Yeah.
She was absolutely doing the orgasmo scene right there.
He had one tear. He had one tear rolling down his face.
She was doing the Jaime Lannister. She was going away inside. Basically.
Yeah.
Viserys was all like, I want you to make me come.
I feel sorry for both of them. Actually, do you want to go?
Let's get into the episode first. We'll talk about that scene when it pops up. So right off the bat, before we get into it, guys, heavy spoilers. If you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back and you can listen to this review.
Go do your arm circles.
Go do your arm circles. The first scene we get in episode 4, King of the Narrow Sea, Rhaenyra has a line of suitors that her father has put together. She is traveling across the realm to find an appropriate husband. Her father gave her the ability to pick her own instead of just being forced into something, and she is not as thankful of that as her father would have hoped. And these suitors, guys, holy cow. Like, a grandpa walks up and he's like, I remember your grandmother. She was smoking hot. Like,
that was a Dondarrion.
It was a Dondarrion
right there.
Yeah.
And then, she gets this kid that walks up and, bless his heart. He's trying his hardest to impress her. And she's like, you're like 12, bro. But the
and then he kills a dude.
And then
but here's the thing. Oh, so by the way, about that, so because I don't think they really told us where they were, but I realized I think they were at Storm's End.
Yeah, they were at Storm's End because the Baratheons were hosting.
Yeah, and then that little kid kills one of the heirs.
Yeah,
well, he should have.
Yeah,
what I liked about that, man, is like this dude's talking mad shit. Like, he calls him a cunt. He's like, "Oh, you stupid cunt. She's got a dragon. Like, whatever. She don't need you."
Bro, we're here for a party. Can you chill?
Yeah, he has no chill. So the little kid, he's finally like, I've had enough of this. You've impugned my family honor. I'm gonna take you down. Whips out his sword. The princess is like done by now. She's walking away, and Criston Cole is like, all right, let's get out of here before shit gets weird.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. You hear like the god, and like immediately my wife is like, oh my god, they killed the kid, and then the camera turns, and this little badass 12-year-old freaking skewers this douchebag, and I was like,
Rhaenyra's just like, ugh, murder.
If he was 5 years older, he would have had a chance.
Yeah, maybe.
So with the storyline, when she's going around, basically her father set up a tour of Westeros for her to go on. Mm-hmm. So she travels to all the wardens' castles, the people who kind of control the different areas, and then the lords all go there and present themselves and their proposals. So she would have gone to River Run for the Riverland. She would have gone to is it Highgarden?
Well, actually, if she was going to the wardens, then she would have gone to Winterfell, Warden of the North, Erie, Warden of the East, Lannisters, or Casterly Rock.
I think she was planning on hitting all those, but then she got bored after 2 months and was like, screw it.
Was it 2 months, or did they say you cut your trip short?
She
by
cut it
2
by
months?
2 months.
Yeah,
she cut it by 2 months.
Yeah.
So however long it takes to travel from King's Landing.
And then Highgarden, they're Wardens of the South. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really funny scene. It had some wit to it and a little bit of humor to it, but it also just shows like Rhaenyra is just tired of this whole game that she has to play. Like it was weird. Like the first thing my wife said was like, does none of the kingdoms have anybody in her age range? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like either they're super old or they're young, like that one kid. And I'm like, that's a good point. Like, are there no like heirs of the 18 to 22 range?
I'm sure there are, but she's probably just like I don't care about these people.
Also, she's waited a long time to pick someone, and probably the people that are her age have already been married off to other people.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. Vader, you were going to say something?
I was just going to comment that it's not like there's any wars going on right now that have killed all the young men that are out there. So yeah, it's a little strange that she can't find anybody her own age, but she's a little thirsty for the guy outside her doorway. So
Criston Cole.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
It's a good looking dude right there.
Do you guys think it's weird that nobody tried to protect the Baratheon heir in that fight? Like you think they were breaking it up?
Those Baratheons, they can breed like crazy. They were like, you know what? He's got it coming. Fuck him.
I honestly, like, when that scene happened, I thought, like, I don't think anybody took that situation seriously. Like, as the douchebag guy, I guess he was a Baratheon? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was. He had
the stag. Okay, yeah. So the Baratheon kid, like, he didn't take this guy seriously, and I don't think anybody else, like, when he pulled his sword out, I don't think anybody, because that one dude was like, "Put your sword away, you twats!" Like, nobody thought it was going to get to that point.
It just reminded me of the King's Tourney, where like these little liege lords are killing each other, and nobody thinks that this is a bad idea. There's no consequence for it, you know.
Yeah,
it's very strange.
Well, and that's why with the melees are usually the lesser lords. Like you're not going to see, with the exception of maybe like a Baratheon or like Robert when in his prime, or Lionel Baratheon, you're not going to see a lot of the major heirs taking part of that because there's too much risk. And somebody's like, "Hey, this is an opportunity to take this dude out," and nobody can blame me. So yeah.
Well, also, I just assumed that if he were someone to be taken seriously, he wouldn't have just been like standing off to the side with the onlookers. He would have been in the line for her hand.
That's true. Yeah, because I think the guy, and I also think, wasn't the young kid, he was a Dondarrion, right?
No, the old man was the
old man was.
Yeah, the old man. So can somebody remind me, Dondarrion, because that name is super familiar.
Beric Dondarrion.
Beric, the guy who kept being brought back to life. Okay. And he led the Brotherhood without banners.
So there was history with him because he was sent to go after Gregor Clegane, and Gregor Clegane killed him. And then Thoros of Myr, multiple times. But the first time he killed him, that's when Thoros of Myr, he was kind of into the Red Faith somewhat, but then I think this time he kind of actually took it seriously, and he was able to bring Beric back. So
gotcha. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, you guys ready to move on to the next scene?
Yep.
All right, cool. So Rhaenyra heads back to King's Landing after cutting her little trip short by about 2 months, and as she's on her way back, her brother's dragon does a flyby like Maverick. Her uncle does a flyby like Maverick from Top Gun, and rocks her ship a little bit.
Buzz the tower. Yeah.
Buzz the tower. And then we get this this really cool scene. Everybody's preparing for Daemon to come back, and the whole King's Throne area is filled with nobles, and the king's there. He's got his crown on. He's trying to make a show of force, and the prince.
And he has Blackfire.
He's got Blackfire. He's got his sword ready to go. That dude uses that thing like a freaking walking stick, though. It kind of pisses me off. Every time he walks, he goes clink, clink, and I'm just like, stop doing that, man.
I know. He's not a warrior. He's not a warrior. I know.
It's not good for the sword.
He only rode his dragon like once before it died.
Yeah. So anyway, Daemon walks in. He presents his own crown as this is, I've been dubbed the king of the Narrow Sea, but I know there's only one true king, and he hands his crown over to his brother. And it almost looks like Daemon has kind of turned a new leaf. Like maybe the war has humbled him a little bit. I don't know.
Got a haircut.
He got a haircut. I guess he couldn't get the blood out of it from the last. He's like, man, I
should have left it in.
I got like fish guts in there. I can't get rid of this. I just got to cut it off. But it was a really cool scene, and I was a little bit fooled, I'm not going to lie, because I don't know the story. I haven't read the books, so I was watching this fresh, and I'm like, has Daemon, changed? This is weird. This is like a new version of him. I was fooled. What did you guys think about this whole king crown
for
thing?
A second.
Didn't fool you for a second?
Not 1 second. No, not at all.
I'm just a sucker, I guess.
I never. You can't trust him to not be a shitbag. You know, that's just why we like him, right? If he like turned over a new leaf and was just like a
sissy man.
He's Prince Harry. Basically, is what he is. He's he gets exiled to America, goes out with his bitch wife, and comes back and okay, just be good for a little while. Don't embarrass the crown but nope, can't do it.
Okay,
I'm totally waiting for the news to flash that Prince Harry's brought.
Are we?
He brought TMZ cameras into the Buckingham Palace or something pretty soon.
Are we about to watch the royal house version of House of Dragons?
Probably, yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be great.
One of the interesting things about the book is that Daemon proclaimed himself king of the Narrow Sea, whereas in the show he was like, "Oh, they anointed, they put this on me." So I don't know if he was lying about that.
He might have been lying.
He's lying. He's lying.
Yeah.
He's trying to save face in front of his brother. It was just a cool scene. I liked it. Anybody have any other comments before we move on? No. Wow.
I'm good.
Okay.
I want to get
that
to
guy's wrong. That guy's wrong. That guy's wrong. It was not like it was House Bracken who maybe killed. Maybe it was House Bracken, but the person
the
who
young
killed
kid was House Bracken. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay.
Sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Baratheon then.
No, the person who got killed was Baratheon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The older boy was Baratheon, but the younger boy who was making the proposal was a Baratheon.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Fluffy Panda. Appreciate the help there in the comments.
Much appreciated.
Man, my day is saved now. It's so much better now.
Needed to know that.
Woo, we got actually. Well, hold on a second.
Well, actually, put your glasses on, bro.
Got comic book guy.
That's what the comments are there for.
Yeah.
So we all think that Viserys was happy that his brother returned.
Yeah.
After he kind of like
he loves
he gave him his props.
Yeah. He's always loved his brother, and all he's ever wanted is to just have harmony.
Yeah, I think he was genuinely happy to see his brother back, and you could tell, like in that scene, he was really questioning, like, how's this gonna go? Because he had the crown on. He's like, "You have a crown. You call yourself a king." And you could see on his face, he's like, "Oh man, this could go sideways real quick." And when he takes the crown off and gives it to him, he was so relieved. He was like, "This is great. This is a great day."
Well, the first olive branch was him giving over that sword.
Yeah,
because you saw the Kingsguard just like And then the minute
that wasn't a sword. That was the crab feeder's hammer that he was crucifying.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Add this to the throne. I like that scene. That was cool. All right, so they go. They celebrate. Everybody's in harmony. Everybody's back. The brother's back. They go to this little garden party, and the king is kind of a dick to his wife.
Yeah.
She's trying to like mingle with the bigwigs, and the two brothers are sharing drunken stories. And the queen's like, "Would you like to see the tapestries?" Mm-hmm. And the king's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure he would love to see the tapestries." Like such a douchebag thing to say, and he starts laughing. He was drunk though.
Well, no. Alicent was trying to get his brother Daemon away so that him and the king and his daughter could talk. That was like her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that was her diplomatic way of trying to do that, to get Daemon away. So because it was obvious that the king was upset with Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And she had come to talk because she wanted to talk to her dad. Mm-hmm. And Viserys was so in his cups that he
yes
up on that.
Say that.
Yeah.
I didn't
deep in his cups.
And as soon as like the king made those comments, you could see on Alicent's face, she was like, "Oh my God, just read the room."
Yeah.
I feel sorry. I feel sorry for Alicent so much because she obviously understands that she's kind of walking into a very fraught relationship, and she's trying to make good on both sides. And I bet she wishes she could go back to before they were married.
Well, in a way, she's like the Ned Stark of this season. Where like she's a very good-hearted person.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to like her?
At this point, I guess. At this point,
so.
I haven't liked her from the second she was introduced to us.
And I don't trust her.
I haven't read the book, so I don't know what's going on. But I've never trusted this chick, and there's just something about her that I don't like. So,
so you're agreeing.
Yeah.
Green. Actually, no.
No, he's a
He'd be
black.
Oh, he's a black. He's a
Yeah,
black.
he's
Okay.
he's part of the Black Council.
Okay.
because he doesn't
Okay.
like the Queen.
Well, what was the time jump between this episode like? Because Alicent obviously had her baby.
Right.
I think
So she has 2 boys
maybe
now.
a year. Maybe a year.
So she
Yeah,
has 2 boys now.
Yes. So we see the youngest child, the newborn child, later on in this episode, and he looks. I think he might be less than a year. So
Probably.
it might be like another 6-month jump. I think.
And long
I
enough
don't think
for,
it's been very long.
And just let you know, that's Aemond.
long enough for Daemon to heal from his wounds. That takes time.
Yes.
Heal from his
So-
wounds.
And to cut his hair, yeah.
Cut
You
his
got the
hair.
air and the spare. You got the air and the spare now.
Yeah.
Air in the spare. That's such a messed up
I
term.
will say that Jude pointed out the fact that the subtitles in this show are very hard to read, especially
Yeah,
when
what
they're
is up
against
with that?
yellow
They're
backgrounds.
like yellow and they blend in with all of like when they're in the forest, you can't even see them. And
Really?
they're tiny.
They are a little
Oh.
small.
Yeah, there's that whole scene where Daemon and Rhaenyra are talking in High Valyrian.
Oh,
Mhm.
It's all
okay.
subtitled.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And you can barely read them.
You can't
So-
understand what's going on.
Yeah, when they're talking in High Valyrian, that's when they're yellow and like really tiny print.
Yeah.
I have the captions on like for English, so when the normal captions come on, they're like bright white and they have like the black background, so like
That's
they really show
normal.
up.
Yeah, but the High Valyrian, I walked into the kitchen and I was pouring a glass of wine and they started speaking in Valyrian. I was like, I can't see what they're saying.
I had to pause it and read it before they went on to the next sentence
Yeah.
because it was a little tough to read. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alicent and Rhaenyra sit down after getting kind of like shoved away by the king and told to go.
The scene was hard. This was a hard scene.
How so?
Well, so Rhaenyra's there,
Yes.
and she's just talking about how like her father just wants her to be a prisoner in a castle to pump out babies, and that's basically what Alicent is.
That's
And
exactly what
that
Alicent
really
is.
like she's trying to be supportive to her friend, and her friend just like zings her.
Oh yeah.
And-
Every single
and-
time.
Yeah, and Alicent at this point, like she's very isolated. She doesn't have any friends. She's like the queen, so like rulers only have like servants and enemies. They don't have friends.
Yeah.
And so Alicent's definitely feeling that, and Rhaenyra is kind of like the only one that she has a hope of connecting to. And you think Viserys can't read a room. Rhaenyra is just as bad as her dad.
Yeah. Well, Rhaenyra's very self-involved.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And it doesn't even occur to her to think about like she's
Anyone
still
else.
mad at her
Like-
bestie for betraying her, but she's not even thinking that Alicent's whole existence, her entire life, has just been as a piece to be moved around by other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like Alicent even says like, "Oh, how wonderful it must be to be able to choose your husband." Like that's pretty good. Have everybody in the kingdom like
And
pining
Rhaenyra's just
over
like,
you.
ugh, they just want
Like,
my title.
she comes off as such a bratty little bitch in
She's
this
so
scene.
bratty.
I know.
And
Well, the
she
whole
said-
episode. But anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
at the very end, I think she makes some really legitimate points when she's talking to her father, which I think redeems her a little bit at the end of this episode. But
Somewhat.
like this scene between her and Alicent was so like, oh my god, lady, like read the room, just like we told her father a minute ago. It's like, can you not tell your
For
friend
me.
your friend
For
is
me.
trying to like have a good laugh with you, and you're just like, ugh, my life sucks.
Oh,
You guys
for
have
me.
no compassion.
For
None.
me.
No.
Yeah, she.
What is your deal? This chick is basically a prisoner as a princess. And
Well,
you
here's the
guys are all
thing.
like,
The reason I have an issue with her. I know you're joking a little bit, maybe, but it's just the thing
No,
is that
Vader's just being a black.
the problem with Rhaenyra is that she's just coming off so entitled. She keeps
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, Daddy, you want to replace me? You want to replace me with your son? But you're doing everything in your power to make sure that happens.
Right.
Like you're being so difficult, like resisting at every single
Yeah.
turn. It's just like, oh my God, you idiot! Shut up. Do what you're supposed to. It
Yeah.
wouldn't matter if she was a guy or a girl. Just before anyone
If
tries
she
to
had
cancel me.
already done her
Yeah.
duty, gotten married, and produced an heir, nobody would have said boo by now.
Yes, she knows.
Yeah.
There's
she knows the
there's
she knows
a
how
there's a
things go.
fantastic line towards the end of this episode where she's like, you're just using me to solve your political problems, and her dad's like, you are my political
political
yes.
problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was great. We'll talk about that in a minute. That was an amazing. The ending of this episode like redeems any issues I might have had with the beginning of it.
Yeah, and,
It's so good.
and you know what? And I really feel sorry for both. Like what you said about Alicent, I feel sorry almost for both her and Viserys. Yeah, Viserys could be a much better husband to her, but he lost somebody that he actually really loved.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
he
he was
doesn't have that
responsible for
anymore.
her death.
Yes, yes. And Alicent, she's in a loveless marriage, clearly, as you can tell. And the one person who it was a genuine friendship, she doesn't really even have that anymore. So
Alex, we mentioned the tapestries a little bit earlier. Can we just point out the running gag of all these pornographic tapestries that are hanging throughout the Red Keep?
Oh,
They're
great.
everywhere.
And we found out they were from Lees and Quohor, from like the pleasure cities across the Narrow Sea. They were
course.
gifts to the
How did
king, which is why they're up everywhere.
How did you guys find that out?
Well,
Oh,
they
that was
mentioned
that
it
was
in
what
this
she said, huh?
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where were the tapestries this time around? I didn't catch them this time.
They were
They were everywhere.
Yeah, when you're like going up that huge staircase, there's a giant one, just like body parts, body parts, body parts, like as you're walking up.
Yeah, they're just
Oh, man.
pictures of people fucking all throughout the Red Keep.
There's got to be somebody
Just
out
like
there.
funny.
faces and body parts.
Yeah.
You know,
Allison's room is like wall-to-wall pornography. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
It is.
and actually, no, I do have to issue a correction. It's actually Helena who we're seeing as the second child, not Aemon. Aemon is going to
Okay.
come after Helena in terms of his kids with Alicent.
Oh, so the second
Okay.
child is a daughter.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. All right, so Rhaenyra and Daemon have a back and forth a little bit, talking about marriage and duty and all this kind of stuff. This was where things started getting a little creepy because you could tell Daemon was like eyeballing her, like, "You've grown up. Look at you. You've become a woman." Like it was like
I
he
see
dropped.
you're still wearing my necklace.
Yeah. He's got those weird vibes going on at this moment, the creepy uncle vibes. And but the conversation was pretty funny. They were talking about marriage and stuff, and he's like, Rhaenyra was like, "You have a wife. She's right there. You can go back to her." And he's like, that bronze bitch. I'm not going back there. I don't even think a baby
Hates
could
his
live in
wife.
such a. Yeah, he hates his wife, which I don't like. I don't know why. We haven't met her yet, so I'm not sure why he hates her so much.
Apparently, she's ugly.
Yeah.
He
It
said the
doesn't,
sheep.
it doesn't matter.
He said the sheep are more attractive in the Erie.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
But what was interesting was Daemon basically in this conversation. He was like, marriage is just something that you do as a ruler. Like once you're married, you can have sex with whoever you want. And Rhaenyra points out it's like that might be true for a man, but for a woman that's a death sentence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this
Actually,
plays
not wrong. Yeah.
this plays into the later aspect of this episode. But it is interesting that like so many people like they don't understand the different gender dynamics because women don't understand like what men have to do and the men don't understand what it's like to be a woman and all this stuff because this is pre-internet. People weren't exactly educated on this stuff.
Pre-internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Westworld or not Westworld? Westeros.
Westeros.
Can you imagine Westeros with the internet?
Westernet. Yeah.
What if they had Twitter and the Targaryens were just
They do.
I
have
saw the princess coming out of a pleasure house.
They do have a Westernet. It's called the Ravens.
That's
Yes.
true. It's true.
Yes.
And the white worm is basically Twitter.
They literally send tweets with the Ravens.
Yeah.
I'm glad, by the way.
140 characters or less on those little sheets.
Yeah.
Little sheep.
She's so ugly. The sheep are prettier. Send it.
I'm so glad that they gave her official name, Viserys. So that's cool that she's now doing she's now kind of being kind of like a go-between when so that's cool.
I was kind of like put back a little bit that they had to like call her Worm, because then she's just the same role as what's his face?
No,
The thing is, it made more sense in the book because she was like an albino in the book, so they didn't want to do that here.
That was it. She's basically the mistress of whispers.
Okay.
Yes.
She's the role.
She's
that
Littlefinger,
Varys was
right?
playing.
Yeah.
She's,
No,
No, she's
more
the
like
spider.
Varys.
she's the spider.
Little spider. Yeah, spider. Yes.
Lady spider.
White spider.
Okay.
She's the Black Widow.
Actually, the White Widow. She's the White
Yeah,
Widow.
the White Widow. All right, so the next scene is the small council meeting. I swear to God, every episode has at least one small council meeting in it.
You got it.
And the king is there for every single one of them. That's amazing.
Unlike Robert, I know.
Unlike Robert.
Exactly.
It's actually like it's funny because
that's normally how it's supposed to be.
we talk about how Viserys is like a weak leader, like he's kind of wish-washy and he doesn't do, but the man shows up for his
tries.
meetings.
He
He
tries.
does show up.
Like you can't say he doesn't know what's going on. He might just not be able to make a decision. But anyway, so this little scene right here, Rhaenyra is actually in the small council meeting. She's sitting there, and they're talking about this big issue that's been around since the beginning of this season, which is been a couple years now. Is like we injured the sea snake's pride. He's out there, he's making deals with Bravos. He's making deals with the free cities and all this stuff. And if he goes there and makes these deals, and that puts us in a really weak position, we need a solution. Literally, the solution is sitting right there. And the camera like pans over to Rhaenyra, and she's just like, I don't want to do anything about it. It's just, it's so frustrating because like everybody knows the answer to the problem, but nobody says it. And she's just sitting there like, I'm pretty sure she knows the answer too. So it was just a funny scene. Like you could tell, like everybody was trying to like, hello, princess, you have a duty.
And the thing about, and just to let you know, the thing about the stepstones have always kind of been a problematic area because at this point in time, Dorne is still not officially part of this. I think Dorne's not officially part of the Seven Kingdoms yet. It's still technically kind of the Six Kingdoms. Dorne's still kind of like rebelling. So that hasn't been, so the stepstones, there's no way they can really reign in the stepstone. And also the free cities has always kind of been like, depending on who's with them, either you're with them or you're not with them.
The stepstones used to be a land bridge between Essex and Westeros.
Yes.
And when the first men came through that area to invade Westeros and fight the Children of the Forest used magic to sink that land bridge to prevent any more humans from coming across there. So like that's why it's called the stepstones, is because you can step from the eastern continent to the western one through that area. But one of the interesting aspects of this part of the show was that Lord Valerian was looking to make a marriage alliance with the free city of Bravos.
Yes.
And if he did that, he would have like basically a lock on the narrow sea trade, because the Bravosi navy is very big, and so is his. He has the most powerful navy in Westeros. And so politically, that's a disaster for the kingdom, because basically it robs them of control of the narrow sea corridor there, because they don't have the ships to fight both the combined forces of Bravos and Valerian.
It's kind of like what if Russia and Finland had like a naval alliance or something like that? You're going to put it like that. The Baltic Sea is locked.
Yeah, you know what was funny about this scene though is so like when they're talking about Lord Valerian, how powerful he is, the new master of ships, who's Jason Lannister, that we saw in the previous episode, he's just sitting there like, oh.
He's the boring one, right?
Yeah, he's so impotent.
So like, why is Jason Lannister? Oh, that's his twin, right? The guy at the is there an airplane flying over?
Sorry, that's me.
Oh, okay. The guy at the hunt, the king's hunt for the last name day of his son, that was Jason Lannister, who has a twin who's on the small council. So now we're looking at the twin.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
I think it might
something
be
with
like
a T.
Thailand, isn't it?
Thailand?
Thailand, yeah.
That's right.
Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like the boring one, the non-charismatic one.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so the next thing that happens, we get this fun little like Indiana Jones treasure hunt thing. It's just funny. So Rhaenyra goes back to her bedroom. It's the end of the day. She's getting ready to hunker down for the night. And there's this map on her little table right there. She rolls it open, and it's got an X right beside her bed. So she walks over and she finds a secret hidden passage that apparently she has never known about these 18 years of her life. And she goes.
Somebody could have just totally walked in and slashed her throat in her sleep.
These are the secret passages that Maegor the Cruel had built.
Yeah, I didn't have any problem buying into that.
You didn't
at all.
Like she didn't know that was there this whole time.
Hardly anyone knows those passages.
Maegor
did she make it? Did they build it?
Hold on.
Sorry, go ahead.
So did they build the castle? Did they didn't.
Maegor did.
So here's the thing. When Maegor, so you have the Red Keep, and then inside the Red Keep you have Maegor's Holdfast. That's kind of the main kind of home. And so what happened is after the Holdfast was finished, Maegor had all the architects and construction people killed, so that no one would know except for him where the passages are.
Okay, but like,
he's crazy.
How did Daemon know about him then?
Because he's Daemon.
Yeah, Daemon's always been sneaky. Yeah,
okay. He's sneaky like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so the idea is that the king has passed down knowledge to certain people, down the line. So it makes sense that Daemon and would probably know about some of these things.
Okay. All right, so Daemon takes Rhaenyra out on the streets of King's Landing at night, and she gets exposed to a little bit of the King's Landing street life. There's a lot of things going on. There's magicians, there's pickpockets, there's
like Bourbon Street,
food vendors.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like walking down the Vegas Strip or something. And this scene reminded me so much of the scene when Arya was watching the play when she was out, becoming a faceless man. And, Rhaenyra sees this play that these people are putting on about who's going to become the heir to the throne. And, the play is about like, oh, Rhaenyra, a woman, is the heir to the throne. And all the people in the crowd are booing and throwing tomatoes
she takes
and
a
whatnot.
shit on the throne.
Yeah, she takes a shit on the throne. Everybody's really upset. And it kind of like, I guess, she might have had a suspicion that this was happening, but like having it happen right in front of her face kind of put her back. And, Daemon was like, freaking the male should be the heir of the throne, and if you want to, she's like, I don't care what these peasants think, and Daemon's like, well, you better, because these are the people that you're going to be ruling.
I thought that was really a smart way for him to show her what the people really think.
This is all orchestrated by Daemon. Daemon is trying to get her into a position where she feels insecure enough to marry him.
Oh, so you think this is the game he's been playing since he landed?
This is the game he came back for, because he knows that her father's trying to marry her off, and he's like, I got to get in there quick. And it's not explained in the show, but in the books, he's been trying to get the king to put his marriage aside. He's like, I'm never going back to her. I'm never going to make this marriage work. I want a new wife. Please, as the sovereign king lord, please put my marriage aside. Also, I want to marry Rhaenyra, and he won't do it.
But he's never quite said that to him, though. Like, at least not overtly. So he's trying to sneak it into Rhaenyra. He's trying to corrupt that.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vader, you think he was just trying to like open her eyes a little bit, but
that's part of it, sure.
Okay. All right. I tend to agree with Jude, but I like your point of view. That's fun.
And the thing about it is that it would shut a lot of the people up in terms of like, oh, she's a woman, because that way they'll be okay. There's at least a man there,
Yeah, it's a Targaryen thing too. Like, oh, they married each other, so great.
Yeah. Also, we did this before. Shit, I forget who it was, but somebody was in line. Was it Alyssa? Was the next in line, and then the parents married them to each other to just be like, well,
what are you talking about?
Oh fuck, I forget which king it was. I want to say,
was it Jaehaerys and his
it
wife?
It might have been because
that's
Alicent was supposed to be next in line.
Well, you know what it was? I realized.
So their
what
parents
it was.
just no.
They weren't
supposed to get married.
They weren't supposed to get married. What happened was that they just were in love with each other. And this was when Jaehaerys was very young. I think he still had regents at this point. And they were trying to split them apart. They were trying to split them apart. And Alicent and Jaehaerys were just like, hell no, it's not happening. So I think that's what you're.
Yeah, but there was a marriage before them. Shit, I forget who it was now. It was not Maegor. Ennis?
Ennis.
It's in the chat right here. John Ward Jr. Yeah, he said Alicent.
No, that's not who I'm talking about.
That's Jaehaerys'.
But anyway,
okay.
Like, let's say 50 years ago, the next person in line for the throne was a female heir, but everybody, like the council, knew that nobody would want that to fly.
You're talking about Rhaenys.
Yes. So the parents married them together because like the king at the time was like, oh no, my male heir. And she was like, and the queen was like, no, you're female heir. And he was like, we'll just marry them together.
Because I think the first potential female heir was the second Rhaenys.
It was Aenys. No, it wasn't Rhaenys. It was Aenys that I'm thinking of.
Aenys was a guy. That was the first son. That was the first son of Aegon the Conqueror.
All right.
Yeah.
Whatever. We don't have.
We're gonna move on.
I'll look it up later. Nobody cares. It's fine.
All right. Now we get down. Now after the play, they run off into the city, and we get down and dirty with the niece and uncle at the brothel, and then that's kind of intercut with the king and Alicent
making hot sweet love,
doing their thing in the bedroom, and. So this scene, again, I was watching this with my wife, and my wife called it immediately. They were getting their thing, they're getting their freak on, and they're getting hot and bothered, and she's like, "He's not gonna be able to do it. Watch." And I was like, I don't know, it's Daemon. I think he might be able to do it. And then that scene, he loses his nerve, and it's said in the behind the scenes thing with the conversation with the director of this episode, it was like the reason, and I didn't really think about this, but the director said the reason why he couldn't continue is because Rhaenyra was too much into it.
She was starting to take control.
Yeah, and that turned him off, and he ran away. Like, I didn't picture that. I thought he had like a sudden surprise of consciousness and was like, I can't do this to my own niece. No. Go ahead, Jude.
Okay. This whole scene really annoyed me. So this isn't how it's supposed to play out. In the books, it makes Daemon so much craftier and sneakier. The way that he goes about doing this, he's like, so what's supposed to be happening right now is she's supposed to be in love with Criston Cole. And Criston Cole is just like not having it. He's like, I am a Kingsguard. It's never going to happen. I'm true to my vows.
Duty.
Like, I'm chaste. Yeah. And so Daemon is like, I can teach you how to seduce him.
Yes.
And so Daemon goes about teaching her how to kiss and how to pleasure, and he never fucks her because he's like, you got to keep that maidenhead, but I will teach you everything else. And he goes about getting her caught so that her father, and then Daemon's like, who's going to have her? You might as well just give her to me. I'll marry her.
Oh,
and the kid's like, fuck you.
Yeah, okay.
Before we go too far there.
Yeah, hold on.
That's what I'm saying.
Vader, I want to get to Vader because he had a thought. So go ahead about this scene.
I had a thought. I was just going to say she was super into it.
She was.
And, I don't know, but I lost my thought. So please carry on.
We should also point out that the show has set up the fact that Daemon struggles with impotency issues. Like when he was first having sex with Viserys, he couldn't finish. And so like there's issues where like I think Daemon wanted to have sex with Rhaenyra, but because he felt that loss of power and control, just went, his wiener just like went limp.
I kind of took this whole scene as he took her for a little walk, a little stroll into the real world, and he awakened something inside her that said, hey, you can do this for fun. You can do this for pleasure. Yeah. Not everything is about duty. Go back to the castle and bone your knight. Go do what you think you can do. You're a fucking princess, for Christ's sakes. You have power. And
I also think he knew the spies would be watching them too.
No,
absolutely, was baiting them.
Yeah, and like that. I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but the scene with who rats them out. Can we talk about that yet, or do we want to wait to get there?
I just real quick. I love the different perspectives that we have on this, and I have to say, Jude, that bit from the book that makes him so much more like
interesting.
I don't understand why they didn't put it in there.
Why make somebody toothless?
He's playing the Game of Thrones, and honestly, when that scene was happening in the show, it didn't play for me like he couldn't finish. It played for me like he was still playing the game because I know Daemon from the books, and he's always manipulating. So for me, I was just like, oh, because he wants her to want it, because he wants her to keep coming for it. So now he's going to bounce and like, it's going to fuck with her head. Like this is all part of his game. And then later on, when we had the interview with like the showrunners, they were like, oh yeah, he impotent. And I was like, what?
That's BS. Another thing too is that what really pissed me off, and this was in the other, like my whole Rhaenyra's an idiot thing, is when she runs off. This was earlier before they went to the pleasure house. When she just runs off down the street, and I'm just like, you fracking moron.
Yeah.
It's like, are you that in your bubble that you don't realize what can happen if somebody recognizes you?
Yeah. Also, people just randomly get murdered on the streets, dummy.
I know. That just really bothered me, just the lack of self-awareness. Again, you're doing everything you can to get disinherited or killed. Yeah. Yet you keep saying do you even want this? That's my thing. Do you even want this? Because you're acting like you don't.
Yeah.
So then, after Daemon bounces, can't get it up, can't lift off the dragon, whatever you want to say. He leaves, and Rhaenyra's left there, and she's like putting herself back together, and she heads back to King's Landing. She heads back to King's Landing, all frustrated, and wants to get her freak on with somebody. Here's another thing. I guess she forgot how to get back through the secret passage, and she just like walks in through the main gate, and like everybody knows it's her, and it's like, did you? Like, she just kind of forgot. I thought that was funny. I'm like, why is she going back through the main entrance? That's like the worst way to go.
I am also guilty of that because I need my GPS to get home from anywhere I ever go, so I get it.
But she knows where Balerion the Dread's skull is in King's Landing. Black Dread, sorry. She can get back there. So if she can get back there, then she should be able to remember how to get back to her room from there, correct? I don't know. I thought that was a bit of a plot hole. I'm like, why did she go through the main entrance? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
It was also funny when she walked past Criston Cole and he was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was great. That was great. I love that. That was great. I love that.
And she invites Criston Cole in, and this is
she
like
lures him in.
Lures him in.
She takes his helmet.
Oh, that's right, the helmet thing. I swear to God, dude, that bit was so funny when she's like, "Here, you want it? No, I'm gonna take it back. No, you want it? Oh, I'm gonna take it back." And he looks like he's so like, God damn it, woman! You're gonna get my freaking head chopped off, both of them. So like, but he got seduced by her because he's been carrying a torch for her for a little while, and they've been together for a couple of years now at least. So they've gotten a relationship built up, and they get their freak on. And
another thing about that too. One, she's the one who's the reason he got invested. He got the investiture. Two, it seems to me, and I think this was kind of established, it's not just, aside from just him being on the King's Guard, she's...
God damn
it. He's her sworn sword.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a big thing.
Yeah. He's basically her personal bodyguard.
Yes.
Right. What I can ask the book guys here, what are the consequences of a Kingsguard having relations with the person that they're sworn to protect? Is it
it's always kind of been like, if I don't know about it, I'm going to pretend I don't know about it. But but like they're not allowed to like father children or get married. Like there was a situation where like a Kingsguard, they found out like he had 3 wives and a bunch of kids. And didn't they behead him? They beheaded him?
No, he got killed during Robert's Rebellion, so it didn't really matter.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that was one of them. That was one of the person who had.
Yeah. So like, it's a big deal if you like have children or try to get married or have like a relationship that everybody knows about. But if you're just like going down and like having a hooker or something, they're just like, the Kings are just like, well, men have needs, whatever.
The whole reason that the Kingsguard can't hold titles or land is to remove them from the politics, to prevent them from having a stake in like the king dying or anything like that.
So they can't be leveraged against the king.
Yeah, same thing with children and wives. Like they don't want any attachments that might prevent the Kingsguard from sacrificing themselves for the life of the king. They're a lot like priests in a way, in the sense that like they can't have any attachments that would pull them away from duty. Yeah, and so like
distract them, compromise.
There are multiple instances throughout history where the Kingsguard, you know, they're human. They go out, they fuck, you know, like they break their vows. But as long as it's kind of it's just kind of like, as long as like they keep doing their duty, it's kind of overlooked.
Listen, man,
do it well, and no one cares.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just say, all I know is we're in 4 episodes, and I'm getting a little board. No one has died. Nobody has died.
What do you mean? The Baratheon kid got scared, man.
Crab feeder got cut in half.
Can we talk about
crab feeder?
Who gives a shit about that crab feeder?
Yeah. I did. Who was that? He was in the show for 12 seconds.
I was so annoyed. I thought he was going to be a much bigger deal. I thought they were going to make something like, I thought they were going to like stretch it out or something. And then all of a sudden he's just dead. And I was like, well, that's boring.
No, I'm being somewhat serious here. I'm growing bored with this show. There's too much politicking and not enough dragons and fighting right now for my taste. And
not enough tits and dragons.
Dragons too.
I need something to happen, because there's just a lot of this running through hallways and little whispering and snickering back and forth and stuff. I need something needs to go on. Because the show's going to
Comments are killing me.
I know. Yeah.
guys, can we talk about how messed up Viserys is? Like when he's having sex, we see multiple wounds on his back. He's lost 2 fingers. Like he can't even take a bath without being in pain.
The dude is falling apart. Do we know what is causing that, or is it still a mystery?
It's the throne.
The throne. He's not worthy of the throne.
Is it really? Are they really kind of hinting that the throne has like an entity of its own, where it's like trying to get him off of it?
Yeah, but I think
that's what they're saying.
I think that's just the show doing that. Like he does get messed up in the books, but it's not like the throne is rejecting him. I think that just the show is doing that. But I like it. It's interesting.
It's not like a Stephen King movie where the car comes to life and tries to eat people.
Maybe a little bit. Oh, Christine.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. I thought like maybe so he has like some kind of a skin disease that they just don't have a cure for. And I'm like, okay, so he's dying of leprosy essentially. His dick still works. That's true. He's fine. He's fine. We have no idea what his dick looks like though. Listen,
we want to know.
He's doing better than Daemon.
There's a reason why Alicent is just like not into it right now, and I have a feeling like half his dick might be rotten off.
Because he's 15 and she's 12. Is that maybe a reason why she's
maybe another reason?
I mean, he's still popping kids in her.
Yeah. And I think honestly, the reason that's maybe the reason why Emma was having so many. That was his first wife's name, Emma. I think it was Emma. Yeah. That's why because they were basically related. That's probably one of the reasons why they're having so many problems having kids. So Alicent, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is getting more and more jacked up, and we get a hint in the next episode from the trailer that we watched of what's going to happen then. So. It's definitely progressing to a point where the maesters are really having no effect, and I guess cauterizing it didn't work if they tried that in episode 2 or 1.
Because they showed his fingers.
Oh yeah, his fingers are completely gone. Yeah.
There's one that's like black, and the other one is going to. They're like 2 of his fingers on. I think his left hand. Yeah. One was like almost gone. The other's like halfway gone.
Oh, they're both gone by now, Charles. They're both gone.
He's only got 3. He's got 3 on one hand.
Yeah.
And it's attention to detail. I know we made fun of the show last week because they missed some green screen for the fingers, but I paid special attention. And there was a scene where him and Daemon were like walking down a hallway, and he had his arm around Daemon's shoulder, and you could see the glove was like messed up looking, like the 2 fingers were just kind of hanging there. And I was like, oh, that's nice attention to detail. Good for you guys.
And I just have to give a shout out to Paddy Constantine for doing such a great job with Viserys. Yeah. He's doing a really good job.
I agree.
And you're right. He might not be the best king, but he's at least trying. He's not Aegon the Fourth.
Yeah.
He's actually trying and making an effort. So I'll give him that much, even though he's not the greatest king.
Yeah.
All right. So the next scene we get is the dreaded Otto Hightower has some bad news for the king. He wakes up early, walks into the king's chamber, and is like, I've got some disturbing news. My spy network has seen Rhaenyra in the pleasure houses with her uncle. And this scene is freaking hilarious because Viserys is like, what was she doing? And he's like, well, she was drinking and frolicking about. And he's like, what was she doing? Well,
other stuff.
Some other things unbecoming of a maiden. And he's like, say it to my face. It was so funny, dude.
I like this slight nuance that they added with Otto in this scene, where before he did it, you could see that he was actually very conflicted about doing it. Because even though he's definitely thirsty for power, he actually does care for Viserys. It's not like just like, oh, I'm just using him as a vessel. He actually does care for doing what's right for the realm. Obviously, doing right for himself and House Hightower. And I do like, by the way, a little quick fact. I like how they mentioned the fact that Otto is the second son. His brother is Lord of Old Town, Lord of the High Tower. So I'm glad they mentioned that. But back to Otto.
I don't think he was hesitant to tell the king at all. I think he was just putting on an act. It's like, oh, my king, I have, some very troubling news.
Well, no. There's a scene before that.
That I have to tell you, and, I have some really bad news.
Yeah.
Inside, he's like, oh, man, I cannot wait to tell you what.
I'm with V on this. I'm with V on this.
That bitch is going down.
Yeah, I think because he's been playing this game from the beginning. He was the one who inserted his daughter into the throne by saying like, the day the queen died, he told his daughter to go put a sexy dress on and go talk to the king. He's playing this game like hardcore.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. But I think there was a scene, and this was before he actually met with the king, where he actually looked maybe a little bit conflicted, or maybe he was just happy. I don't know.
Yeah. He's like, this little bitch just gave me this, and I cannot wait to take her down with it.
Yeah,
that's what happened. But he had to put on an act about, oh, my king, I have some very special, terrible news that I just don't know how I'm going to give it to you.
I agree with you, V.
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
And
it also turned the king against Daemon as well. Who he's hated.
He was given a gift, and he could not wait to pull the ribbon on it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so we've been talking about Viserys and how he's been real wishy-washy and he can't make a decision, and he's kind of not as clever as the people around him.
Right.
This scene, I felt like there was a little bit of a light in the tunnel for this guy. Like, he called Otto the second he told him that. He's like, is your ambition so great that you bring me this nonsense from some spy? How do you know this is true? Like, he called the shot like right away, but, and this is the wishy-washy part of him, he second-guessed himself until he went and he got confirmation from 2 or 3 other people. And it wasn't until the very end of this episode, which is my favorite part of the show, where he talks to Rhaenyra, where he finally solidifies his opinion. But I just, like, his initial reaction, like, you see, like, the dude knows he's clever. He's more clever than he lets on, I think. But he's not sure of himself.
To quote Game of Thrones, to quote Tyrion, he's got a certain low cunning about him.
Before we move on, can we just go back to the whole sex with Criston Cole thing with Rhaenyra? Because in the book, it was very ambiguous as to whether or not they actually like ever had sex with one another, because they're unreliable narrators kind of like giving the information in the book. And in the book, you get the sense that like Criston Cole never wavered. Like he was like, okay, rejecting her advances. But in the show, which is canonical, it's very obvious that they've done it. So I know Jude was very upset over this point.
Wait, you mean they've done it prior to this?
No.
Yeah, no.
I mean, my take from the books was that he never wavered in his vows, and that was the whole reason for some stuff that happens later. And the stuff that happens later doesn't make sense if this happens.
Well, it actually might. But the thing is that I think the 2 perspectives that we got in the book was that either one, the stuff that Daemon showed her horrified Criston Cole, or when he tried to run away with her, she was just like, well, you're just a knight. How are you gonna fund our lifestyle? You're just a knight. I'm a princess. And that's all I'll say about that.
And also, I thought that this was very quick for her to go from being a chaste maid and then making out with her uncle. And then she immediately is like, I gotta get something in me. And like, it happened so fast. I was like, they should have stretched that out. It was so unbelievable. It was so unbelievable.
I think I see what you're saying, because I feel that maybe showing a little more. I mean, they showed bits and pieces of their relationship, but it always seemed kind of like, okay, he kind of admired her, but that was it. But showing maybe a little more interest on her part. I do see what you mean. You're right.
Listen, man, when you go down to Industrial Avenue and you go in Sapphire Club and you spend a few hours watching all the stuff and you get all horned up.
$2,000.
Yeah, and when you get home,
you have to bone.
You got a bone. You got home. You got a bone.
When you get home, you have to bone.
You got home. Let's get it home.
She's all horned up. She's ready to go.
She's never done anything before. You're telling me the first time she gets a kiss, she immediately runs back through the castle, and it's just like, which with the first person she can lure into her bedroom. It's so stupid.
Listen, they've been working on this little relationship for years at this point, right? So she has a thing for him. She's dreaming about him, and he wants her, and she wants him. And it's not like she had to work hard to get that armor off.
Not so
it was
much.
like,
actually, she did.
Well, there was a lot of lace, a lot of stuff she had to untie.
You know, and you know, by the way, though, I love that scene in many ways because it was almost kind of like it was a bonding type scene where they're kind of just taking off the armor together. I kind of dug it. It was very cute.
Do you guys notice that when he took his pants off, she started giggling? You guys didn't notice that?
Know, how old is she supposed to be right now?
Like
She's 18.
Yeah,
okay,
she's
because
like 17 or 18. Yeah,
because I think in my brain she's such a small little demure lady that in my head it looks like Daemon's trying to like get with a 12-year-old to me. And so it's a
Total
dirty.
Recall rules, demure but slutty.
Yeah, it's just but she's got this little slut twinkle in her eye, you know, and it was kind of interesting.
I'm sorry, guys, I lost track of time. We're already at an hour. Let me. So Alicent and confronts Rhaenyra about the allegations that her father made, and Rhaenyra swears up and down that she is still a maiden, liar, and she's just trying to make her safe. She's just trying to save face.
Yeah.
But they make amends somewhat, and Alicent kind of it feels like they become a little bit closer, which I think is going to lead into what happens much later in this story. And then the king has Daemon, who is still drunk from the night before, I guess, dragged into the king's chamber with the throne and everything. And this is where I feel like Viserys finally has some freaking balls, and this is one of my favorite scenes in this episode, where he's like calling Daemon out, like, you son of a bitch, you've been doing this. This is why you came back. He freaking kicks him while he's on the floor. He pulls out his dagger, which we learn a lot more about in a minute too. And he's like threatening him. He's like, get out of my sight. I never want to see your ass again. Like, this is the last straw. You're done. I was like, whoa, we actually got some gumption from the king. This is dope. What do you guys think about that scene?
I thought that interestingly enough, Daemon didn't deny it. Even though he didn't sleep with her, he didn't deny the allegation.
He lied. He lied straight to his face. And this is what I think Jude was pointing to, where like he's playing this game, where he's trying to get this to accomplish something. Go ahead,
and
Jude.
the whole thing with Missaria, the whole thing with her, with like somebody in the comments earlier was just like she sold Daemon out. Daemon put her up to that. Daemon was like, I'm masterminding this whole thing. He's still in league with her, and he wanted her to rat them out.
Yeah, Daemon. Yeah, exactly. Fluffy Panda. Daemon is a savage. Like, as soon as the king said that, he's like, "Yep, totally, man. It is all me." Like,
and
even though it didn't happen, when I was watching this with my wife was like, "Ooh, that's freaking devious." Like, he's messing with his head right now. So
he wants the king to marry them.
Yep.
And you know what else too is sorry, I was meant to say this earlier. Rhaenyra technically didn't lie. I mean, she lied about being a maiden still, but she didn't lie about not sleeping with Daemon.
She did say Daemon didn't touch me.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's a lie.
He's like, he never touched me. Like, dude, you are making out.
There were lies told.
You were rubbing bits together.
He pulled her breeches down.
It's very uncomfortable. It's very, very disturbing. Like, ew.
Yeah, Damon's the creepy uncle.
Salty and sassy.
Oh. Anyway, okay, so yeah, that scene in the king's chamber with the throne and the two brothers, I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah.
Great scene. Immediately following that, the king is very conflicted about confronting Rhaenyra about this, and Alicent comes to her defense. And she's like, Rhaenyra has been truthful for her whole life. She's never lied to you. But
I loved this.
Can you say the same about Daemon? And the king's like, that's a good point. Like, do you think he's lying? And he's like, or she's like, he's playing some kind of a game. And he's like, and the king asks like the stupidest question, to what end? And she's like, to demean you, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's playing you. So like, Alicent again is like way smarter than the king.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. It was a really well done scene though, and I liked how Alicent was kind of like, she was looking at this from like a fourth person perspective, going like, okay, I can see what's happening, and she's calling Daemon out. The king's calling Daemon out. Everybody doesn't believe Daemon, which is rightfully so.
I hate her.
You still hate Alicent?
Don't like her.
Things are about to get very interesting for you, V.
Well,
I don't like her or her stupid dad. I don't like either one.
Will be interesting to be once the I don't think this is a spoiler to say this, but I think after this next episode, it's going to be different actresses. I think that's right. Yeah, that's a no. That's pretty.
Yeah.
They're gonna age up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And I think that it's really cool, and I don't think that this is a spoiler. I think that it's really cool that the show is taking its time and making you think that the main players are Daemon and Rhaenyra. That the battle is going to be between them, and that is not at all what the show is what the real fight is going to be about.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Those are not the people that are going to be pitted against each other.
Yeah, for people who haven't read the books, like I think this is going to be a big shock to them, which is how this whole plays out, and I think that's what this show is kind of leaning towards for viewership, and like V said, and I do tend to agree with V. This is like compared to Game of Thrones, this show is tame. And I can understand, there's gonna be a lot of people out there who are like, oh my god, this is so boring. Like, why isn't enough happening? Why isn't there more death and sex and blood and guts?
There will be,
and I think there will be. I think they're gonna probably about halfway through this season, things are gonna switch up. And
yeah.
The first season of Game of Thrones, things didn't pick up to like episode 7.
Right.
Yeah. Also, it's important to remember that Daemon and Otto have hated each other their whole lives.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, the last
second son syndrome.
The last scene, the last scene of this show, or not the last scene, second to last scene. The king confronts Rhaenyra about the events that transpired, and I don't give a shit. Like, it was well done. The whole like confronting her about doing things with it, I don't care. What I really cared about and what I thought was really freaking cool is that goddamn dagger, dude. He has that thing sitting in the flames, and he pulls it out, and it's like cherry glowing red, and it's got like words in it. He's like, only the flames can reveal the. I was like, freaking Frodo, where's the ring of power? I'm like,
not that one.
I'm like, this is so freaking cool. I was nerding out, dude. Like, cause I like knowing what this dagger does, and even though I hated the ending of Game of Thrones, like knowing what this dagger means to the show that we watched before this, like learning it came from Aegon the Conqueror, and it was from around before even him, and it's got like this secret message hidden in it. If you put it under fire, it lights up and you can read the message, and it's the Song of Ice and Fire, and it's like, it's this bit. I was nerding out so much. It was so freaking cool.
So I actually hated this bit more than anything else in the episode.
Why?
I'll tell you why.
Let's hear it.
Because the prophecy that was inscribed on that dagger was a lie. The person who defeated the Night King was a Stark.
Yeah.
The person who became the King of Westeros was a Stark. Nothing from
Stop tapping on your screen, bro.
Yeah. Nothing from Aegon's prophecy was true.
It was false. It was wrong. It was. I know.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was a Song of Ice and Ice.
None of us really believe that episode or that last season, for the matter, happened. So
doesn't count.
Yeah, do over.
Yeah, do over.
No, I agree. I agree with you, and I like how they brought up I think it was Aemar, who was the one who actually went over from Valyria to Dragonstone. Like after, I think his daughter, the Dreamer, I forgot her full name. Yeah, but that was cool that they kind of brought that, like it was Aegon's and it was Aemar's ancestor. Yeah, that was cool. But I completely agree with Kadish. It was BS.
So you're not mad that they included that. You're mad that the other show butchered the ending of the show.
I'm mad about a couple things.
I mean, they're doing this knowing how the other show ended. Right?
Maybe
so it's kind of like I don't understand. The prince that was promised was supposed to be Jon Snow.
Yes.
Right.
But we all know how that turned out. Daenerys, she was the direct line to Aegon the Conqueror. Right. She could have been the prince that was promised.
I mean, it could have been translated to princess.
No.
But the reason why it doesn't work with her is because she's only fire. Jon is the Song of Ice and Fire, especially given that there was never. I mean, all the families have intermarried at this point. Jon was, if I'm not mistaken, Jon was the first fusion between Targaryen and Stark. Yes. So the Song of Ice and Fire makes sense for that to be him.
So
there is a show they're developing with Jon Snow that's going to come after season 8, and
could they redeem it?
They say maybe they can redeem it. Maybe Jon Snow will end up on the throne. He'll go kick Bran off his wheelchair.
He doesn't want it.
I don't want it.
I don't want it.
Aren't those usually the best kings? The ones that don't want to be there?
Yeah.
That they have to be.
That they shouldn't
So-
be there, or like, oh,
Who
we're gonna
knows?
send you north of the wall because this guy who's leaving and never gonna come back is mad at you. That ending was so stupid.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope it happens.
So in this scene, we also got Rhaenyra agreeing to marry the Valerian child, Rhaenyra.
Right. Yep. She
And
finally
her
made
father
the call.
basically forces it on her.
Yeah.
He does. He puts his foot down. Like, okay, no more games. You're gonna go marry this person because, this is that scene that you talked about how being your favorite. Like, you are my political headache, and this is the remedy for that. But what I liked is that she knew the answer ahead of time, and when he said that, she was like, okay, it makes sense. I understand. Like, she wasn't like mad about it at that point. She kind of came.
Yeah,
to
well, now
terms
that
with
she's
it.
gotten
Still
laid,
ready.
it's not.
Yeah,
as big
now,
of a deal
she's
for her.
fine. She's like, oh, you mean I
but-
can bang Criston Cole and this other guy?
But what was interesting is how she pointed out to him how Otto isn't trustworthy either, and that's the first time that it ever occurred to Viserys that Otto could be playing him.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Well, no. Well, they set it up earlier in that when Otto came to him, so that it wasn't just like, oh, wunderbar. It was like there was a setup where he kind of realized, oh.
But it was the first time that he realized that he couldn't trust everything Otto was telling him, and he needs to be able to trust his hand.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue into the last scene of the show, where Matt Smith is absolutely killing it in the show. Nerdy Doctor too. Oh my god, I want his clothes off. Take your clothes off.
Went from Time Lord to Dragon Lord.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go
Anyway,
there.
so the ending
Nice.
ending of the show, the King Viserys confronts Otto, and the line that ends this show is like, your interests no longer align with the realm. I can no longer trust your judgment. And there's a moment there where you kind of feel like Otto is truly betrayed, but then you also remember he's a complete snake, and he's just like already plotting his revenge as he's telling him.
Viserys pointed out, it's like, now that I think about it, I realize what you did with your daughter.
Yeah.
To manipulate me.
Yep. He's been playing this game for years now.
And interestingly enough, since we can say this now, this is actually in line with something that happened in the books where they said that Otto pushed too hard to have his grandchild as the new heir, to which Viserys finally, and I like how they the way they did it here, where they fleshed it out, where it wasn't just like him nagging like an old hen, which he kind of was to some degree, but they did where finally he was just like, dude, I had it up to here with you and your manipulations and trying to get my daughter and soil her. So it was well done, and it made Viserys look good. Finally, you're somewhat assertive.
Yeah.
You know what I think they're doing is they're finally getting us to like Viserys enough to when the next episode comes, we're going to be like really on edge.
How about that tea?
I almost forgot. Yes,
I was going to ask what that's all about.
So basically, the king sends the Grand Maester in with a special brewed tea, basically Plan B tea.
Moon tea.
Yep.
Moon tea.
It's and it's supposed to get rid of any potential pregnancy that might have happened. So what this says is, even though he had this conversation with Rhaenyra, and she told him that I'm still a maiden, everything's fine, he still doesn't believe her, and he's basically covering his ass. Like, just in case you're lying to me, you're gonna drink this tea. And if what you said was true and you're chaste, then you'll be fine, and this tea might give you a bellyache. If you're lying to me, you're gonna get fucked up.
And also, if Viserys is good at playing the game, which he's not, but if she never drank the tea, that would be to say to him like, oh, good, she didn't need that tea. But she's gonna drink it.
Yeah.
She's gonna drink it.
And you know what else too?
Somebody's gonna tell him.
And you know what else too? The big thing is, he even kind of mentioned it early in the episode where they kind of set up why this makes sense. I forgot who he was telling this, but he said Rhaenyra and Daemon are very similar in nature. So he's like, okay, they're almost like the same person, so it makes sense that he kind of has to take precautions with her, like the moon tea.
Also,
Targaryens, man, they're kind of freaky.
we don't know 100% that it was Viserys that sent that maester in.
It
Just
could
the
have been
maester.
Alicent.
Yeah, the maester just said, "Oh, the king sent me." It could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been Otto before he left.
I think it was Alicent. It may have been Alicent Ivan too.
Might have been Alicent
Yeah,
too.
it could have been anyone.
I honestly think it is Viserys, because I don't think he believes, when she told him that, because he got enough verification that she was out doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that he suspects that she's lying to him.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's the end of the episode. Do you guys have any favorite? Yeah, it's super chat time. Real quick, I just want to get everybody's favorite moment if they have one. Mine was the dagger in the flame. I geeked out. Yes, I know, but season 8 doesn't count. That shit didn't happen.
Yeah.
So like just having that there, like, and realizing the importance of that dagger was really, really cool to me. V, did you have any moments in this episode that you really liked, or are you bored?
I was a little bored. Just a little bored through this episode, but it's fine because I know it's going to pick up at some point. Okay. They're still in setup mode. I feel for the entire series, we're learning about motivations and what's drives people and stuff. So it's still interesting. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Jude.
I hated everything that happened with Rhaenyra's bits. It happened too fast. But I really liked the scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent. Because it was like, oh, you betrayed me. In the last episode, she was all shitty with her. And in this episode, she's kind of like letting all that shit go by. And Alicent had her back. And it's really kind of giving us that roller coaster ride of what's coming up in the rest of the season. And I really am enjoying the ups and downs of their relationship.
Cool. Charles, final thoughts.
I did like the scenes between Alicent and Rhaenyra. I do agree with Jude in the sense that maybe there should have been a little more pushback or should have been a little more set up before Criston finally caved and broke his vows on her bed. Sorry, I'm a child. But I also liked how Viserys finally showed some spine and finally took some initiative. Those scenes were really great. Like, we finally realized, Otto, you got to go, dude. And I like the fact that, and this is just some of the acting and the nuance and how they kind of really do things. He didn't just go like full, like scorched earth on Otto at first. He kind of couched it where it's just like, I learned so much from you. You taught me how to be a king, but I can't trust you anymore, dude. So and so it kind of showed there was a real bond there that was just broken by Otto's constant politicking. So I really did enjoy that, and him finally kind of being a king.
Cool. Right on.
I want to know who the next hand is, but I guess we'll find out.
I hope they pick that one dude who gives him like non-biased, good information every episode. The smart one. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, but something strong. Was he strong? I forgot which one.
Yeah, Lord Strong,
Lord Strong,
Lord of Harrenhal. Yeah.
He's got my vote. Kadish, final thoughts on this episode.
So I had 3 favorite scenes in this episode. The first was the mavericking of Rhaenyra's ship. You know that Daemon knew that was her, and so he was just like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Then there was the scene where Daemon returns to court and he hands over the crown to Viserys. I thought that was a great scene. And the final one was the firing of Otto. I thought that scene was really, really well done.
It was really good.
Yeah, like this was not like a very like engaging episode. It's probably my least favorite so far. But I see that they're setting a bunch of stuff up, and I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Cool. Right on. All right, guys.
All right. We got 2 super chats.
Yeah, we got 2 super chats. So if you guys are just coming in, we save all of our super chats for the very end, and we go over them one by one. So if you want to support us, drop us a chat. We'll star it, and we're going to start talking about those right now. So go ahead, hit me with the first one there, Matt. Fluffy Panda for $5. Thank you so much. Very, very generous of you. That's wrong. Alex must suffer with the rest of us. Rings of Power is the cure to insomnia. He must pay reparations for us. I'm not going to watch it. Not going to do it. In fact, I did the opposite. The other night, I put on the first Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, and I was just like in love. It was watching that is like watching it for the first time every time. It's so fun. So amazing. Bilbo's birthday. I mean,
the real Galadriel.
The real Galadriel. Gandalf is there. Like, it just, that movie is so freaking good. I even tweeted out, I think, at one point, I was like, I'm watching Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings because I like good fucking movies. So it's like, I have no desire, zero whatsoever, to watch Rings of Power. Last year, I was really excited about it, but the more we learn about it, and these poor bastards have to cover it on Saturdays, I'm like, I'm good. I'm just going to skip. I'm not doing it. So,
you know what's funny is I haven't ever been looking forward to watching the Amazon show because we knew it was going to be a clusterfuck from the get-go. You know, just knew it was. So here we are.
Well, when they released like who was writing it and who was directing it and all that stuff, like there was immediate red flags going up.
Yeah.
Well, they started talking, and also they were, I think, they were like acolytes of J.J. Abrams, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Well, they were the apprentices of Roberto Orsi and Alex Kurtzman.
That's actually worse.
Yeah, and Alex, the guy who directed the pilot episodes of Rings of Power, is the guy who directed the second Jurassic World movie. So you'd think J.A. Bayona. You'd think that you'd give him some leeway there, but I guess you're over that.
No.
You know, actually,
that's not a good movie either. So
no, it's not. It's the weakest of this newest trilogy, and it was directed by directing is one thing. Like obviously, what's written in the script and what's written on the page, that's somebody else's responsibility. When they hand it to the director, his job is just to film what they have on the script. So he's not going to go there and be like, Galadriel is too overpowered. We have to tame her down because it's not realistic. Like no director's going to say that to the writing and producing crew.
I'm gonna give you my Rings of Power theory.
Talk to us.
Are you watching it too, Jude?
I watched the first 2 episodes and I was like, I don't care.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna watch anymore. But when it would in my theory, the current Galadriel has been that's not really Galadriel. It's Sauron pretending to be Galadriel. And it's gonna be a big reveal, and it's gonna be like, I was evil the whole time.
And and I'm just sorry is that, this is no disrespect to Morfydd. I think that's her name, Morfydd Clark. Is just you cannot top Kate Blanchett. She's just, she just looked godlike. She looked like a goddess.
She was
I'm sorry.
peak Kate Blanchett then.
Yes. Just perfect as Galadriel.
Yeah, but anyway, I do feel bad for like hardcore hardcore Rings of Power, not Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings. Tolkien fans. I really do feel bad for the majority of them because the second age. Saladriel.
This guy.
the second age.
That's why I was laughing earlier.
there can be a lot of really freaking cool things that happens in the second age. Like I've read parts of the Silmarillion. I think that's how you say it.
Silmarillion.
Similar, and the island where Aragorn's ancestry comes from, and how Sauron created the rings. Like that's a really freaking cool story.
It's a very diverse island.
But when you freaking you go down the political aisle and you start writing things for a very specific demographic, it ruins the story. And I have no interest in supporting it. I'm not gonna go. I'm not the type to go out there and make rage videos and be like, I freaking hate this show because of this, and this, and this. Like, there's plenty of people doing that. I'll let them do that. I don't need to. My way of not is just not recognizing it. I'm not ever gonna play. I'm not gonna support it. I'm not gonna tweet about it. I'm not gonna do anything. Just let it pass by, and maybe they'll lose money.
It'll fade, just like Arwen's powers when she marries Aragorn.
$2 from our patron JT, who runs our Dragon Champions guild. Just because. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. $2 just because.
That was very nice.
Very nice of you. Thank you. Fluffy Panda again for another $5. Worst movie I've seen: Russian Western with aliens starring Val Kilmer as a corpse beheaded 10 minutes in. Rings of Power exceeded the worst of my expectations. Wow. What is this Russian Western with aliens?
Is that what it's
and
called? It's called Russian Western?
I need to know the title of this movie. This sounds like something we should watch.
Let me IMDb it real quick.
Yeah. Russian. Like it's an actual Russian production? Is that what you're trying to say? That's interesting.
I think the thing that's nice is that with House of the Dragon, it's just good to see. You can tell that HBO is being mindful of this. I mean, there have been some little slips here and there, but they're mindful given the fact that, hey, we have to repair the damage done by the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. Yeah. So we want to bring that back because there is such a wealth of stories that you could still tell that take place before the events of the book, and you don't have to worry about it being prequelitis where, we know this person's not going to die. They're all going to die. Yeah. So with this, if this really sticks to landing, which I really hope it does, I'm rooting for the show, that you can do other stuff. You can talk about one of the Blackfire rebellions. Maybe you can go as far back and talk about the first conquest. Maybe you can talk about the Dornish War. So
I really want my old Valyria
Yeah.
prequel.
I know
Yeah.
it would cost them so much money because of the setting and the dragons and all that stuff. Like it would be hugely expensive. So what I'm hoping is like if this here's the last question for you guys before we head out. So we all remember how freaking huge Game of Thrones was, like in peak, like season 4, season 5 Game of Thrones was freaking huge. Everybody was watching it, the whole entire world. Do you guys think that this show is capable of getting back to that level?
No.
We'll see.
No.
Okay.
Game of Thrones was it was kind of like that.
It was the first of its name.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it was just such a lightning in a bottle, especially because it was just the first major fantasy to do that ever, really, when you think about it. And with HBO already had a lot of big franchises. And this just I think it's just, at the end of the day, people love those dynastic dramas, whether it be just, like back in the day when they, remember like Dynasty and all those soap operas that were huge. People love that shit. So this is this perfect fusion of pop culture where it's like, you brought the nerds in, you brought the casual people in, and people were just addicted to it. And the thing that made it great is that people already kind of know what to expect. There's some people who are never going to come back, and that's unfortunate. But with this show, it was just drawing more people in. It was a water cooler show, when we could still talk at water coolers. And so I think I don't think we'll be able to recapture it. I think it will definitely be big, but I don't know if it'll ever be Game of Thrones at its peak season 4 big.
Okay. All right, guys, let's get out of here. Thank you all for being here in the chat. Thank you guys for your super chats. Fluffy Panda, JT, appreciate you guys supporting us. Today is Monday, so we are doing a watch party tonight on our Discord app. So head over to saltynerddiscord.com, and you guys can join us tonight, 10 p.m.
Buck Rogers, Vampires in Space.
Yes, another Buck Rogers episode. V will be hosting. I will be there for sure. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And Vader, sign off. Let people know where they can find you and what you guys are covering. You guys have a big show coming up on Sunday or Saturday, I believe.
Maybe. Yeah. Got to get some confirmations. But yeah, we might have a big show on Saturday talking about Rings of Power. You can find me at MattVader74. Everybody knows that. Everybody, I think, that's around. And it's Judge Dredd week, right?
It is.
Coming up, yep,
coming up. Talking Sylvester Stallone one and Carl Urban's.
Law.
It's gonna be a lot of that. It's like, I am the law.
I'm the law.
I am the law.
I am the law.
All right, Jude, where can they find you?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram and on TikTok.
Perfect. Matthew Kadish, take it away.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter. And big shout out to Fluffy Panda. Thank you so much for those super chats. And JT, thank you just because we really appreciate all the support you guys show us. It does not go unnoticed.
Oh, and real quick, saltynerdsstore.com. We have hats now.
We do have hats.
We have hats now.
Turn around.
That's not the hat.
It's not this. This is a different hat. It's a black hat with our logo on the very front. We worked with Mixed Tees, the guys over there at Popcast, and we finally got hats. So if you guys want to grab a hat, they are on sale now at saltynerdsstore.com. Go grab one. And don't forget to type in salty for 10% off of that purchase.
And don't forget to hit the like button before you go.
Yeah. Charles, sign off for us. Last one.
You can find me on Amazon.com, CC Akeke for the Pantheon Saga or Star Brigade series. And you can find me on the Instagram or the Facebook.
Perfect. Great job. All right, everybody. Stay salty. See you next week.